Greetings and welcome to You Are the Miracle. I am Cheyenne Kramer. This is my better half.
Donald Kramer. Hello, everyone.
And we come to you each week to try to bring you new ideas and new thoughts on how you can be the miracle that this world is looking for. We are true believers that solutions come from the people. And the more people who get up off the bleachers and onto the playing field and being able to create something new that serves humanity, that's what we're all about. Could be a business, doesn't necessarily have to be. But we happen to like small business owners because a lot of the ones we get to know are being a miracle for the planet. So today we are excited to have with us our guest, Mr. Kevin Strauss. And let's see if we can give you a clue. So, Kevin wants you to have more joy and happiness and less conflict and stress. He's the founder of Uchi, an app that brings people closer together and nurtures their emotional health. Kevin began his career as a biomedical engineer, earning more than 75 patents and developing dozens of globally marketed products. 22 years ago, Kevin started exploring what drives behavior and how to improve them. And that led to creating Uchi. So welcome, Kevin. We're thrilled to have you with us today.
Thanks. It's great to be here with you guys.
Awesome. Well, you gave us a little bit in your bio that kind of led you to this path, but we'd love to hear a little bit more about your backstory. What in the world caused you to decide to create this incredible platform?
Yeah, thanks. It's a fun story to tell. It can be a long story, but I'll try to keep it brief. As my introduction says, I started out in biomedical engineering, which is really, all about solving problems. And there was a point in my career where I was working at I'll call it like a little think tank. And basically we come up with ideas and pitch them to NIH, the National Institutes of Health, to get funding. So these were ideas for like medical devices, but kind of loosely termed medical devices, because it was nothing that was really going to be regulated by the FDA, but just ways to help improve people's lives, right? And that's what, biomedical engineering, improve people's lives. And this is back in 2001. So this goes back, a long time. And, I'm always thinking of new ideas. I'm thinking about my life and what's going on in my life and everything. And there was a point I was actually watching a television show, and I was watching this argument between a father and his teenage daughter. And they were just butting heads and butting heads. Of course, it's a TV show, but it was driving me crazy. And I'm like, if you would just say how you really feel or what you're really thinking, you wouldn't have an argument, because people just aren't sharing openly and honestly. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't have this problem. I'm always sharing what's on my mind or how I'm feeling about this, that, or the other thing. And I don't get into all of these arguments. And it just occurred to me, a lot of times it's easier to share ideas, to share thoughts and feelings through writing. And this is, again, back in 2001, and I was writing a lot of email with friends and developing really close relationships with people just from writing email. And some of these people I'd never even met in person, or maybe I met them one time, but we were going back and forth writing these epically long emails. And I was like, well, parents and kids can do this, but you open up a blank email, what are they going to say to each other, right? How do I even get started? And that's when I thought of, well, why don't we just start with a few simple questions to get going? And that's where it all spun from, is asking a couple of simple questions that both people have to answer, rather than the interrogation that kids get when they come home from school, right? And it's like, how was school? Fine. What'd you do? Nothing. What's your homework? Nothing. There's nothing going on there. And when do the parents share how their day was? What's going on in their world? It's pretty rare, I think. So this idea was to just level the playing field and prompt with just a handful of questions. Both parties have to answer, or everyone in the family answers, and you get to read each other's answers. And then fast forward that, all the way through. It was a website first, which launched in January of 2003. And then it's always been, the side project. And then eventually I turned it into a dedicated app, because everyone's like, it needs to be on the phone. It's got to be on the phone. So in 2019, I turned it into a dedicated app under a new name. So I rebranded it with a better name called Uchi, because Uchi in Japanese means in group or inner circle. So it's all about connecting with the people closest to you. It's not social media, which is public. And, it's like, how many friends can I get? How many followers can I get? Uchi is only about connecting with, a few handfuls of people that matter most to you. And that's kind of how it got started. But if I can, what I learned through all of this is I didn't come up with this solution just because I wanted to solve this problem between the parent and the teenager having the argument in the TV show. It took me 15 years to learn that what I was really doing was solving my problem for not feeling heard and understood by my parents. And that's really, that was the underlying subconscious, I think anyway, through the work that I've done with myself, right?
Mhm.
That's the underlying need that I always had, is to feel heard and understood by my parents. And I can tell you, in 2003, when the website went live, I decided, hey, I'll use it, with my family, and my parents like, sure, we'll do it. And amazing. I mean, I would butt heads, with my parents, not with my friends and other people so much, but with my parents, because they don't listen, they don't understand, they don't see things any way other than their own. But using the program, it was called Family e-Journal back then, and now it's called Uchi. But using that and just answering questions, it was 4 questions a day, and the questions change every day. And just by answering those questions and reading each other's answers, I mean, in like 2 weeks' time, I noticed that, well, when I was talking with my parents, I felt like they were really listening to me. And I was so much more patient with them. And I mean, we used it for 9 months straight, and I don't think we had a single argument in 9 months.
Great.
But
That's
then, yeah,
huge.
right? I mean, it was amazing. And I was an adult, I was like in my 30s. And then that's when I realized, because then we took a break from it, and we weren't using it, day to day. And then in about 2 to 3 weeks time, I was less patient with them. They weren't listening. We started arguing more. And that's when I realized that our emotional health is just like our physical health, where you have to nurture it regularly or it will degrade. And emotional health is really all about relationships. We can get into that if you want later. But if you don't nurture, you can't just like do one workout or eat one bowl of vegetables and think, oh, I'm healthy, I never have to do that again. No, it's from birth until death. You have to nurture your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual health on a regular basis, or it will degrade. So that's my big story.
And what a story. And, and I can corroborate that myself because, we've been experimenting a little bit with our sons, and our sons are adults. And, as a mom, one of my greatest frustrations is in the last 20 years, my kids never talk to me anything about anything except sports scores. And I don't
Right.
care about sports scores.
Yeah. Yeah. That doesn't matter to you. Let's talk
No,
about something with some substance.
Exactly. And just I know I've told you a little bit about some of the experience I've been having with the app, but just so you know, both of my sons have now started answering the questions.
Okay. Okay.
And it's wonderful because I am seeing, and for a parent, oh my gosh, to be able to see how you actually have influenced your kids when they start feeding back stuff to you that you're like, oh my God, I didn't think they ever heard that.
And it did seep in, and it's in there. We just have to draw it out. And it's just we there's so much talk. We have to talk. We're not talking. People aren't talking enough. And through COVID and the pandemic, that misbelief went skyrocketed. Like, we have to be face to face. We can't connect if we're not face to face. If we're not in person, we can't connect. But that's all completely incorrect. That's a total myth that we continue to believe. But we have 2,500 years of data showing that two people can have a profoundly deep connection just from writing letters. It's the written word. We don't take the time to write, And again, that's what Uchi does. It gives you time it's just answering simple questions. Oh, it's simple, deep. It just, you choose the questions from the database, or if you're creating an Uchi tribe like you've done, where you can put in your own questions for just a small private group of people. But just by, answering these questions, it slows everything down. You have time to journal, which is incredibly therapeutic. So you get time to think about, oh, how do I feel about, this, that, or the other thing? Or if I wanted to go on a vacation, where would I go? Or what's my role in my family? Wow, I never really thought about that, because that's not what's coming up in typical, verbal conversations, right? It's sports scores and weather and, what's the latest on Netflix, and we don't really connect very deeply anyway when we're talking about those kinds of topics. So with Uchi, it just slows things down. It's the written word, and it just makes it easier. And then you have time to read what the other person or other people are saying, and you can reread it. And, oh, I missed a word. Let me read it again. Oh, it has a whole nother meaning. Oh, now I get what they're saying. Now I can respond with a comment and so on, and have the dialogue back and forth. And that written dialogue is just so powerful. And you don't tend to get so emotionally reactive, which happens a lot. It's hard to think on your feet. Even right now, I'm stumbling over some of my words, right? So it's hard to think on your feet all the time, like in real-time conversation. But with the written word, you can slow it down, and it's just really
Absolutely.
powerful.
It truly is. Now, and one of the things that I think is so important for people to understand about the importance of a tool like this, you've actually done some research in the past utilizing your tool. And Don and I have been very involved with a lot of our younger generations. We've been very concerned about how disconnected they are, and about the level of depression and even suicidal thoughts that are going on. Can you
Yeah.
just share a little bit about, the research you've done and how this can be involved in helping to pull people out of depression?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll give you a little backstory on that. So back to the original idea and proposing this idea to NIH, we had to figure out, okay, what's the angle? Why would NIH want to use or fund a program and research like this? And what I had found is, again, I was focusing on families with teenagers, and the CDC actually defines high-risk behaviors by teenagers. There's about a dozen. I can't remember them all right now, but depression, anxiety, suicide, drug addiction, alcohol abuse, bullying, those are all, behaviors, high risk destructive behaviors that the CDC is monitoring on a day-to-day, year-to-year basis. So that was the angle. But the research that I found back then that others were doing was when a person who's struggling with alcohol abuse, when they feel more connected, their alcohol abuse improves. When someone's struggling with drug addiction, when they feel more connected, the drug addiction improves. When someone's struggling with depression, when they feel more connected, the depression improves, and so on. So there is a root cause to all of these destructive behaviors. We keep focusing on the behavior and not the underlying cause. The underlying cause is love, connection, and belonging, which is what I define as emotional health, our ability to give and receive love, connection, and belonging. So fast forward to, okay, so NIH didn't picked this up as a research program, and then I created the website by myself, and that's the journey I've been on. But then years later, once it was all built, I had reached out to a professor at Texas Women's University, and he had done research with, he had posted an article about work he's done with veterans and depression and suicide. And I reached out to him, just a cold, email to him. We got together. I told him about the program. We put it in place at his school with college students. Formal research. I mean, it was totally formal. With what's the independent review board, the IRB, independent review board. So everything was totally legit. We did a control group. We had an experimental group, so on and so forth. And we ended up publishing several papers showing, peer-reviewed publications showing that the Family e-journal program, which is now called Uchi, 1, it strengthens relationships, and 2, it improves depression. And that's just after, a few weeks. And this is several different papers that we published with this research. So it just helps people connect. And we all just need to feel heard and understood. And when we do, it makes us happy, and happy people do good things. And they're much less likely to hurt themselves or others. And that's what we want to do with Uchi, is just bring a little happiness around, connect with the people that are closest to us, and life gets better.
Absolutely. And I know a lot of some of the, I call it the wisdom generations, they think it's kind of difficult to be using technology like this. But dear, you downloaded the app with no problem recently,
Yeah,
correct?
that was simple.
Yeah.
If I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And and he jumped on there and connected with me in there. So, it's not difficult, and we definitely want to make sure that anybody who views this has an idea. I mean, tell people how, because I know there's a free side to Uchi, there's a paid side to Uchi, but you can do a lot with the free side. So
Oh,
please tell
yeah.
everybody about how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Uchi, it's spelled UCHI, and it's a free download on the App Store or Google Play. So it's an app you can put on any smartphone, tablet, or Chromebook. So for schools, because we work with schools as well. And you just download for free, create your account. One thing about Uchi is privacy is so critically important. Our privacy policy, it's very clear, but in short, we don't collect any information. We don't data mine anything. Whatever you share on the app is 100% private to just your Uchi friends, and everything is invite only. You cannot even search for a person on Uchi. The only way to connect with somebody on Uchi is to know their email address and invite them, or they know your email address and they invite you. It's almost like email addresses are harder to get now than phone numbers. So,
Yeah.
right? So we just use an email address, and that's all that's required for an account is your name, email address, and a password, and that's it. And you always have 100% ownership of your data, so you can download all your data anytime from the app. But that's really what it's about. You just get on the app, and it's all about answering questions. And we have this whole database. I mean, hundreds and actually like 1,000 questions currently on the database, and you just pick and choose and answer whatever questions you want in any order, bounce around, and only your Uchi friends can read your answers, and they can only read your answer if they've already answered that question. And that's how we get the two-way communication going. Because on social media, everybody's talking, but no one's listening, right? 99% of tweets get 0, or whatever they're called now. 99% of tweets get 0 engagement. How do you connect if it's not two-way? But with Uchi, it's built into the app. And again, everything's private. We don't even have access to what users write and share. Only the user and their friends. And that's it. And then the pay side of Uchi is, if you want to create, we call it an Uchi tribe. If you want to create an Uchi tribe, then the tribe leader pays a fee, and it's not a big fee, and you can get a subscription. and they create it's an Uchi tribe that they create with up to 10 questions and up to 10 people. And when you pair that together, that's an Uchi tribe. If you want to have new questions, you can have the same people and new questions. That's another Uchi tribe, right? Or you can have the same people and different questions. Did I already say that? Or different people and the same questions. However you mix and match people and questions that you invite as the tribe leader, and it's free to join the Uchi tribe that you're invited to, but you can't go and search for Uchi tribes like AOL chat rooms back in the day. Again, everything is invitation only. So that's the pay side. And what we have found is that an Uchi tribe, again, up to 10 questions, up to 10 people paired together, it usually lasts about 1 to 2 weeks of answering questions and having conversation back and forth. And then the conversations naturally fade out, just like a normal conversation fades out. So you just keep doing Uchi tribe after Uchi tribe. It's not like being in a Facebook group where 1,000 people are in there and nothing's happening, week after week, or only a handful of people are actually engaging and everybody else is just watching or doing nothing. Uchi tribes, it's just a couple minutes a day for 1 to 2 weeks, and then you can move on.
Awesome. Great stuff, Kevin. And we're definitely committed within We Care Partnerships to helping you get the word out here in a lot of ways, because we're doing a lot of things to try to help mental health, and especially with the young people we've dealt with. That's for sure. It's been sad to watch the decline of so many people. So thank you so much for creating a solution, a tool that can be used by many people. It's simple, it's free if you just want to reach out one-to-one with people. And I encourage people to get that app and get a move on with it. You have any final thoughts, hon?
Like I say, it's not hard to download and get going with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage people to do it.
Absolutely.
If we can get people to start talking again, one way or the other.
Yes, about something more than the weather. Thank you very much.
And actually, Don, what you just said, get people start talking again, that's what Uchi does too. You start with the written word, but it translates really quickly. Like I said, with my parents, and, a while back, a father wrote in and he said, "Thank you so much for this platform. My 12-year-old daughter hasn't spoken to my ex-wife in more than a year. And within a week of using the platform, they've started talking again."
Great.
That is amazing. That is amazing. Well, thank you for being part of the healing of this planet. We appreciate you very much. And we appreciate all the folks who watch our videos and listen to our podcasts. And just remember that, Kevin is being part of the miracle we need to have on this planet. But you are the miracle too.
Yes.
It's time for every one of us to figure out what is the gift that we can bring here, and how can we make humanity better. So until next week on You Are the Miracle, we'll see you then, and have a fabulous week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.